Dual-purpose motorcycles aren't new to the Nepalese market, but credit where credit is due, Honda did start it all. The Honda XLs began the trend, the Honda XR followed, then came the CRF. But what we have with us today is by far the biggest offering that Honda has ever brought to Nepal, and we call it the Big Red. And this is it, the Honda CRF1000L. But no one's gonna call it that, because this beauty goes by the name of Africa Twin. This is Honda's 1000cc adventure tourer, and we're gonna give it a test ride.
The Honda Africa Twin is an adventure motorcycle legend. Back in the 80s and early 90s, it became the template for what adventure bikes should be. In the new rendition, the styling, the paint scheme, and even the nameplate graphics hark back to the previous generation Africa Twin. But this is a completely different proposition. For starters, the CRF model designation replaces the XRV tag because it is no longer a V-twin. Instead, nestled low in this frame is a 998cc parallel twin that develops 94 brake horsepower and 72 pound-feet of torque. The Africa Twin is also the first in its class to get an automatic 6-speed dual-clutch transmission as an option, and it replaces the traditional clutch lever with a parking brake. So the Africa Twin acts like a giant twist-and-go automatic on steroids. Once you get used to it, it makes the riding experience a bit more simple. It takes the mundane task of shifting out of the equation and allows you to enjoy the ride, soak up the scenery, and focus on the road ahead. It is pretty simple to ride. Shift into drive, accelerate, and you're off. Gear shifts are definitely earlier, but it provides adequate power for smooth riding. You will not be able to hold revs as well as you'd like, but you can work around that. You have 3 sports modes you can toggle through with a push of a button that will give you more than enough punch on the tarmac. If that still doesn't satisfy you, you have the option of switching to manual shifts via buttons you can access easily with your left forefinger and thumb. The Africa Twin doesn't just look like an adventure bike, it's the real deal. Check out its long travel suspension. The fork features huge 45mm tubes and 9 inches of travel, while the single shock rear suspension is also fully adjustable with 8.7 inches of travel and convenient remote preload adjustment. It's also got traction control and ABS. The bike has a narrow waist which positions the rider down in the bike instead of perched on top of it, and this works great for enduro riding, as it will help you maneuver the machine in a way that is deceptive of its size. The Africa Twin's claim to fame comes from its capability to perform on the road and off it, and it's that duality that Honda have perfectly reflected in this dual-purpose motorcycle. Now, while it may not be the most capable big tourer in the world, we think it is the perfect one to start things off in Nepal. There are bigger caliber machines like the BMW 1200 GS and the KTM 1190. And there are smaller offerings like the Triumph 800 Tiger. But the 998cc parallel twin engine could be the perfect middle ground offering that provides the best of both worlds.
For further details on the automobile industry here in Nepal, visit us at www.autolife.com.np.